I do think that a lot of what I heard about the trade deadline, if you want to blame Farhan Zaidi for something, here's what you can blame him for. You can blame him for what he said after the deadline was over. However, I think he was in a spot where there wasn't a lot of good things to say. So what I'm referring to is Farhan saying, well, we've now got the best rotation in baseball. We have the best pitching staff in baseball. Well, you don't get to say that when you're ranked like 24th in the game. Now, I know what he's saying. Robbie's now back, and Blake is pitching at full strength. And, okay, I get what you're saying. Kyle Harrison's throwing 89-mile-an-hour fastballs, but whatever. I get what you're saying. It's not the time to say that because you sort of sound like you're peacocking into the room like, well, we've got the best pitch. You're 3 games under 500, dude. No peacocking, please. And the other thing that he said was we're really, really excited about the young players. And, whoa, what a great thing. Well, we're making all kinds of avenues for the young guys. No, that's not what you wanted. I know you're going to act like that's what you wanted. This season was about a massive payroll and a playoff trip. It's not about runway for young people. You've had a ton of them up already. But here's the thing. If you were mad at the Giants deadline, you're mad at the wrong guy. You should be mad at Greg Johnson if you're mad at the deadline. I think that this deadline showed that Farhan Zaidi's footing is very weak right now within this organization because there's no way in hell that's what he set out to do. It does not help him. It does not help him to shed money at the deadline. Maybe his bosses are like, hey, good job. Can't believe you got someone to take all 3 years of Jorge Soler. So does that mean he stays? Maybe. But his footing in the organization, my read, is it is nowhere near as good as it was at the start of the year because these sounded and felt like ownership moves to me. Yeah. They gave him walking orders. We're tired of watching baseball that we're paying luxury tax prices for crappy service. And no thank you. So go get money off the books. And if we end up with holes out there in the field, bring up somebody who hasn't had their 23rd birthday and let them play because we're sick of this. That's what happened at the deadline.
Yeah, you were listening from Hawaii because that's right. Pretty much what I was saying to Grandy and FP. Yeah, crack one open. Crack
Cheers.
Open another one of your fizzy waters.
Aloha.
It's crazy because that's the way I read it too, Mark, was, Farhan was given marching orders. We gave you the checkbook. You spent a bunch of money, and it didn't work. So now, go fix it, Farhan. And by fix it, I don't mean necessarily get better. I mean get cheaper. Spend less money. And if you can find somebody to take Jorge Soler, please do that. And they were able to do so. And I do think that they can arguably say you have the best rotation in baseball, but now you have to go out there and prove it.
Do it. Yep.
And, it looked like they kind of started to show it with a Logan Webb complete game shutout. My son actually went to that game. Shout out Keon.
Nice.
Hour and 52 minutes or whatever.
Did he pay for the tickets?
Yeah, he did actually.
Okay, good for him. Yeah.
FP hooked me up and got me a friend deal, but it was I actually paid for it. He didn't pay for it.
So as long as somebody did.
Whatever. And it's so funny because with these kids today, it's like, Dad, thanks for the tickets. It's like, don't you want to know how that all went down? What did Dad have to do? And no, thanks, Dad. That's all.
At least you got a thanks.
Yeah.
I get a where's my popcorn?
I get that. It's tough.
Thanks.
I'm going to eat it.
You back up the complete game shutout with a no-hitter.
No-hitter.
And so it's like, okay, Farhan, maybe you do have the best rotation in baseball. And Steiny made a good point during the changeover, the crossover, that, you go 7 of your last 9 and you pick up a game. And that's kind of how it is when you have that many teams to climb and that much work to do. And I'm with you, Mark, in terms of the wild card race. Wake me at 500, get above 500, which they haven't been in more than 2 months. So get to that point, and then we can go ahead and refresh the standings from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, this is not something to be excited about. At all. This is not something to be excited about. I thought Bob Melvin's words after the trade deadline were the most important, where he was like, how many games under 500 are we still? And at that day, they were like 2 or 3. And he's like, 2, 3, okay, yeah, whatever. We have to do that. That should be everybody's sole focus right now. I don't care who's playing right field. I don't care who the starting pitcher is. I don't care who's left-handed and who's right-handed. Have more wins than losses. Then we can start having a conversation. And so that's what the ownership of the Giants told them to do. Go get us back under the luxury tax. Go save some money. Get out from underneath some bad contracts. Put some young people out there. And if we boogie, then great. We boogie. If we don't, we can say, look at us. We're building up the young guys. And there's two things that I think Farhan sort of needs right now. One or the other, if not both. We've thought all year, you got to make the playoffs or else you're in trouble. I don't know if he's got to 100% make the playoffs, but what the Giants need at the end of the year is something to say to their people. And so if you don't make the playoffs, you better have 5 kids that look like they're about to pop. So Ramos, check. Okay, what else? Does Birdsong crush it for the rest of the year?
Check. I give him the check.
Well, but
half
not
a
yet.
check.
Let's see what happens at the end
Fair
of September.
Enough. Yep.
Let's get there. Is Birdsong still crushing
Patrick
it?
Bailey gets the check.
Yeah, but I mean, Bailey was kind of already established.
I get it. He's talking about young.
Is Luciano going to be the DH? Is that what I mean, my gosh, if anybody screams DH, it might be that glove. So,
seriously, we talked about that last
But I mean,
week.
does he hit 9 home runs the rest of the way? All right.
Fitzgerald? Does
Tyler
he count?
Fitzgerald, absolutely.
Okay.
Boy, the names that he's keeping right now are absolutely ridiculous. In the history of the organization, the 10 home runs in 16 games list, it's just like boom, boom,
Mays,
boom,
McCovey,
boom,
Bonds.
and then some guy named Tyler. And you're like, what?
Totally.
After all the shortstop searching they've been doing for the last 3 years, is this the guy? But maybe he is.
Right.
So if you get to the end of the year and all that feels like it's cooking, all right. But no, Mark Cano is not what they were doing. That's not what they were doing.
I like the player.
Yeah.
I always have. I always like Cannon
He's
from
a
his
local
days.
guy, you know what I mean? Yes, wonderful. But I just don't think he was driving this one.
No, I don't think he was either. And I do think that their trade deadline, and FP was going on this whole thing about on Mondays, like, I don't like the phrase buy or sell because, it's about adding value. It's about increasing the value of your roster. And I look at just their roster at the end of it, pre-deadline, post-deadline, and I don't think they necessarily got better, but they probably didn't get worse. You got Luciano and Canna up. You got Soler and Luke Jackson, Grandy's favorite. He was delighted to see him go.
Oh, dude, he's still coughing up long balls now in Atlanta.
Exactly.
Did you see the curveball that he hung over the weekend? Oh, my God.
I did not. Now that he's not a Giant, I just am happy to not watch.
You
Go
wanna
look at
Google
it.
it, yeah.
It'll feel like a you-know-what, man. It'll feel like a strong finish. You go,
Curvegasm.
oh, my God. This guy.
He's Googling it as we
This guy's
speak.
just hanging balls over the middle of the plate. Some guy that wears glasses for the Marlins took him into the left field tank, and he's running around the bases, and Jackson is just mother bleeping himself on the mound. And I was like, God, that looks good in a Braves uniform. Oh, man. Yeah, it's absurd.
Perfect.
Look, they got better at the deadline, not because of anything anyone did. They got better at the deadline because Robbie Ray and Blake Snell are healthy.
Exactly.
That's it.
And Logan Webb bounced back
Yeah.
after 3 straight bad outings. But that's kind of my point is I don't think that the marching orders at the deadline to Farhan were let's buy, let's sell. It was let's get rid of some money and then whatever happens, happens. And we'll decide about you, Mr. Zaidi, a little bit later in the winter. So best of luck. Save us some money and then go back to your office and hope for the best.
You are 100% right, and I can prove it. There's one thing that
You got
everyone...
proof?
I got proof. I got proof.
Tell the truth.
Everybody's favorite word with the Giants right now, math.
I love the math.
I got math.
I love the math.
You want to know why the Giants were not a buyer or a seller? They were neither. Buyer makes no sense. That's adding money. That's adding to a losing baseball team. Made no sense. Ownership was like, no, we're finally saying no. Selling is horrific PR. Blake Snell's out there throwing shutouts every 5 nights and you're going to send him to the Yankees? Terrible PR. So what's the next thing you can do? Well, you can ride the fence. And the proof in the pudding is this. An actual sell would have meant here's Jorge Soler and Luke Jackson. Give us a good prospect. But the Giants didn't do that.
Nope.
They took some guy who's not a great prospect, like Braves' number 27 prospect and a low single-A player. They took that guy and said, rather than a good prospect, Braves, why don't you pay Jorge Soler for the next 3 years? You take all the contract. You can give us someone named Tyler or Billy or Sam, whoever you've got in small-town America who might be good in 2029, we'll take that guy as long as you promise to pay the rest of Jorge Soler's money. And the Braves said, fine. So that means the Giants were not interested in filling up their minor league system, and they were not interested in filling up their major league system. They were interested in replenishing their bank account. That's it. That's what the deadline was. And it's not great news for Farhan or fans, quite frankly.
Yeah.
It's not a good place to be. It means that you didn't play well over your first 100 games.
But it's not terrible for the PR part of it.
Not
because,
yet, right.
I mean, Jorge Soler was a player who many fans were kind of out on, even though I think he was starting to play pretty well.
He was better.
He was starting to show the promise of the power hitter, even though he was a leadoff hitter. And then Luke Jackson, Mark Grandy, our technical director, is among many who are like, get this guy off my team,
Oh, my God.
which is what you were saying about DeSclafani last year. So addition by subtraction, yes. And the PR hit was not terrible. And also, hey, we're going to look at the young guys now. Marco Luciano is going to get 4 at-bats a night. Look at that, everybody. We're doing what you wanted.
Exactly.
So the PR part of it wasn't bad. And it did help that the one guy that you could have sold went out and threw a no-hitter.
Yeah.
And pitched in the 9th inning for the first time in his life, which is that part of it. Honestly,
incredible.
Mark, that part of it is the most bananas part of the. I mean, no-hitters are great, and he was so unbelievably dominant.
It was incredible.
But the fact that he had never pitched in the 9th before in his career,
Right.
and he's a grown man of like 30, 31 years.
Well, and even this one, you're looking at the pitch count and you're going like, I hope this is quick.
Yep.
And Ellie De La Cruz is like, I got you. No problem. How about if we just fly out on the first pitch? Thanks, Ellie. That worked out real well.
And nothing like a can of corn fly ball to right field that suddenly feels nervy because what you do is either
Seriously.
collide or both decide to
Dude,
not
that
catch
ball
it.
came off of his bat, and the camera pans out to Yaz and Ramos running at each other, and you're like,
Oh, Schmidt.
oh, God. oh, no.
Totally.
What's going to happen out there? And Yaz even did that little crow hop out there, which I kind of read as like, he's like, I'm going to catch this, but like, I don't know, slide underneath me or something while I catch it. Like, let's not. Oh, God, so nerve-wracking. But, yeah, that worked out rather well for the sort of half-stepping that they did at the deadline.